Hello there. Welcome to the TTP Field Manual podcast. I'm Joshy. With me, almost as always, he is Jonny. How are you, mate?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
Superb. Thank you for asking. On today's episode, we are going to have a rather casual armchair theory crafty take on what we would like to see for a Necron Flayed Ones sub-faction add-on to the Necrons range. This is sort of a follow-on episode to one of our very first episodes, Tomb to Tabletop, where we talked a lot about what we would like Necrons to have in the future. What do you think, Jonny?
I think this is pretty exciting and is something that should have been done a long time ago.
Yes, we've been pretty nuts with some bonus content stuff of late, as well, getting through the sheer mountain of recent codices. Why we did that, who knows?
Because it's what's relevant to the times.
It's relevant. It's evergreen.
We gotta stick with the hype,
Necrons is the hype in our heart forever and always.
right? Even if I might be a Chaos man, I still do love a good Necron.
We both started with Necrons. We both started playing Warhammer 40k with Necrons and constantly found ourselves in stalemates because we had the same ideas.
Necrons in a back and forth is not very fun because everyone just gets back up.
It was a nightmare. We ended the game without killing each other.
Yep.
But we love Necrons. We have lots to say and think about Necrons. But we also really like coming up with ideas. So we're going to do this.
Let's do it.
All right. So as we get into this episode, it's also worth mentioning, Jonny, that very recently we had a kill team for the Necrons. The obelisk mob. The Canoptek Circle, that's it.
Hey, there he goes.
Hey, I know my stuff. The Canoptek Circle kill team box. And all of the units in that box have rules for the larger whole of 40k. And would you believe me if I said that the 3 datasheets we have been gifted were more or less things we talked about as great ideas to add to the faction later on, all the way back a year ago in our Tomb to Tabletop episode?
No surprise there. I feel like they're listening lately.
They are listening. What I am quite surprised at, though, is there are 3 datasheets that we can have a look at, if you'd like, before we get into our main topic. The Geomancer, the 5th Cryptek to be added to the range, well, of the non-epic hero Crypteks, I mean to say, for 75 points. The Canoptek Macrocytes, a unit of 5 for 85 points. And the Canoptek Tomb Crawlers, 2 models for 50 points.
Who are adorable.
Is this like nearly 300 points of models just from one box of kill team? That's insane.
Yeah, right?
160, 210. No, 210. Not too close to 300, but that's still quite good. And yet, no rules for an Cryptek.
Oh, which is weird to me, considering he has a model.
Or the Immortal Despotek. What the heck? What the heck? H-E-K-H. What the heck?
But go on, Joshy, what does a Geomancer do? Besides play with rocks.
Well, Geomancer, the alchemist of the Crypteks. We talked a little bit about it from a lore perspective way back when.
When we were like, where is Geo?
Yeah, where is Geo, one of the few Necron Crypteks that have lore? So the Geomancer is a fun little dude. He looks great, or she looks great, or whatever this model is meant to be. A snaky-like Cryptek wrapping itself around a floating rock that apparently is a little difficult to build, but if you've built the Psychomancer, you'll be fine. So the Geomancer has 8-inch movement, T4, 4-up save, no invulnerables, so bloody hell, put it with a unit. 4 wounds, but for 75 points, it actually has a decent offensive output. Its staff is called a Tremor Glaive. It has a couple of hits in melee, 2 attacks. Unfortunately, it does hit on 4s, which is like insane to me. For a master of the, Cryptek ways, hits on 4s. Are you kidding me? But it's strength 8, AP 2, damage 2. If it wants to shoot with that weapon, it's exactly the same profile, but with Melter 2 with an 18-inch range that also can do a little anti-infantry-ish torrent pulse instead of a beam. So weaponry, it's okay. It's very Cryptek-y. You'll probably not hit or wound with it in my experience with Crypteks. But it can lead Immortals, it can lead Warriors, it can lead Macrocytes, and the Geomancer can also attach to the unit even if a Warden or Noble is part of the unit. So that's pretty neat. I love the Lord and their little wizard companion aesthetic. That's really fun. The Geomancer has two abilities. First being Tectonic Reverberation. It's essentially a psychic ability, but Necrons don't have the psychic keyword, so don't worry about anti-psycho weapons. What you get is the ability to choose an enemy unit within 18 inches invisible and pin it. This is a classic -2 to move and charge rolls made from it. But it also has a very spicy obelisk node control. This is a thing sort of tailored from the whole kill team mechanics where if you're within a node system, it can affect your team, the enemy team. In 40k, however, that aesthetic idea that the Geomancer's tampering with auras between rocks and geomagnetism just means your opponent cannot deploy within 12 inches of this model. It's a deep strike screener, as well as a move limiter. Pretty cool, eh?
It is interesting, yeah. With the ability to get scout with Macrocytes, you can definitely have like a way to screen out one of the side objectives, or even just like stick him on your home objective and know that it's pretty safe from deep strike shenanigans. I like this guy. He's cool.
Yeah. Did you want to tell us about Macrocytes, my friend?
Macrocytes,
Macrocytes, you mentioned them.
as opposed to Microcytes,
I imagine we probably couldn't see the Microcytes.
but you'd feel them.
Well, maybe. Maybe. Macrocytes, a squad of 5 little plasmacyte dudes. This is great. This is so cute.
They're adorable, right? Nah, I think this kill team is very cool, and the models that they contain are very cool, and I'm a big fan of these weird, wormy, sort of centipede-y sort of vibes. But yeah, so in this you get 5 Macrocytes, and they all have a scalpel and claws, which is strange to me because it's called a scalpel, but it's at range. It's okay.
Long-range surgery, mate.
Yeah, or you can swap it out for a Tesla caster, which is more Joshy style. He loves his Teslas.
Sustain hits go brrrr.
Yeah, for sure.
Or an atomizer beam.
Yeah, one can have an atomizer beam and a nano scarab projector. You get a couple of war gear options. No, these guys are cool. You've got a pretty squishy little toughness 3, 4-up save, no invols, 1 wound each. But you do get that scout, so they make a decent bodyguard for your Geomancer, just to kind of like protect him, give him a couple of extra wounds before he dies is really all they're doing. Their attack and damage profile is nothing special, but the Tesla does give you sustained hits. Again, hitting on 4s with 5 strength, 0 AP, 1 damage. So nothing to cry home about, but these guys are all about their abilities.
Oh, it's insane, mate.
So their basic ability is an aura that just says, while enemy units are within 3 inches of this unit, they subtract 1 from their hit rolls. Pretty good for defending your Geomancer if people try to get close. Or even just like sitting them near a combat and just really gumming up your opponent's ability to get through to your models. Which, with reanimation protocols, the less they kill, the sooner they get back up. On top of that, and the reason why you're seeing hits on 4s for most of the units, like the Geomancer and the Macrocytes, is their Accelerator Mandible, which is one of their war gear options, which is interesting, because to get this, you lose out on one of your ranged weapons.
What?
But at the start of the fight phase, you select a Canoptek unit within 3 inches of the bearer, whether that be this unit with their Geomancer, or you could sit it near some Wraiths, or something like that. And then until the end of the phase, they get weapon skill +1, so it'll take them from hitting on 4s to 3s, or 3s to 2s, if it's like... Yeah, no, this is very good as like a support option.
The Wraith combination is fantastic, because they also hit on 4s, and despite their sheer tar pit statistics, they also are like quite literally a 50-50 chance of missing or hitting with their weaponry. So, ooh.
Yeah, this makes that tar pit even better. Or, any of your other Canopteks that you need just like a little bit extra weapon skill out of. Key thing to note, this is specifically weapon skill and in the fight phase, so it's only going to hit those like melee units. The other piece of war gear that they can get, which doesn't lose out on a ranged weapon, thankfully, it's actually equipped with their big gun, or big gun being strength 6 and 1 AP as opposed to strength 5 and 0 AP.
Hey, they're trying their hardest.
But once per battle round, when a friendly Necron unit within 3 inches activates its reanimation protocol, it reanimates 1 additional wound. So again, you sit these guys near whoever you want to be your tar pit or doing damage, and it's just like a big buff piece. And the fact that it's aura-based means that you can literally just sit it near anything. These guys are sick. They die easily, and your opponent's going to want to kill them, but having Scout 8 to get them into a safe spot, move them up, so that your Scarab, your Wraiths can like run up and do what they need to do nearby. I think these guys are fantastic.
A lot of great little utility from them. I'm not sure about 85 points, especially because you probably want to put them with the Geomancer, but that's a huge debuff platform nonetheless.
I don't necessarily know if you want to put them with the Geomancer. I don't feel like they're survivable enough to keep the Geomancer alive very long. Whereas you do have decent options in like warriors and immortals as well. But I think these macrocytes really want to be moving around the battlefield or, around other units they can buff. Whereas the Geomancer kind of wants to sit on an objective and stay there.
I would consider them with the Geo just to be a bit more aggressive with his reverb and his node control abilities. But yeah, the macrocytes is a bit of a gamble.
The other thing I like about the macrocytes that is a bit of a non-bow with the Geomancer is they do have the fly keyword, whereas he doesn't, which means they can get around a little easier than he can, and he will slow them down a little bit. Yeah, so while I think it's great that they can be paired up because of, kill team and all of that, I can see their usage outside of just this, especially when the Geomancer does have that like Cryptek bodyguard ability where it can join another noble, which is another reason why it might want to go with like the Immortals or Necron warriors. You stick him with one of the other units that can protect him a little better, and then you send the macrocytes off to do their own thing.
Yeah,
just
macrocytes would be really helpful for the Canoptek Court detachment as well to help turn on the power matrix. Imagine if these 5 little dudes are enough to turn on the power matrix. Even if they're not able to get close to a Wraith or something, all of a sudden those Wraith units are able to re-roll their hit roll of 1 or re-roll the whole hit roll as well.
And then also get +1 to that hit roll?
Yeah, it's a great little combination of stuff. Canoptek Court stock's going up, I think.
I really like the idea of putting these guys just on the objective while your Wraiths are just in front of it. That way, when you get into melee, you can keep your opponent off that objective while still giving all these buffs.
Yeah, as a Canoptek Court enthusiast, this is very fun to me. And if you have a bunch of plasma sites left over from destroyer units that you're not running, you could kit bash, for example, all of those spare little guns you've definitely got lying around from warrior kits on top of them and be like, look, I have another squad of macro sites. I didn't even have to buy kill team again. How great.
Yeah, especially when those little reminder tokens are literally just that now. And I'm sure you've got a few running around.
I have 1 less than I actually need were I to play the Destroyer Cult detachment because I turned 1 into the arm of a custom Locust Lord.
Ah, okay.
Wonderful. There's 1 more unit, Johnny. There's one more unit, Johnny.
3 whole units. It's like more than what we got at their start of edition.
Yeah. Oh, that's true, actually. Man, come on, bring me the Aprotek and the Despotek. Are you serious? But no, looking at Tomb Crawlers now, a unit size of 2 for 50 points. Hilariously, more wounds than the macrocytes. Movement 5, toughness 4, 3 up save, wounds 3. These are like thick scarabs.
They're adorable.
These fellows are like little Cryptek bodyguards, much like the Crypto Thralls are. In fact, the Canoptek retinue ability actually states that this unit can join a Cryptek model-led unit, but it cannot have both Tomb Crawlers and a Crypt Destroyers unit joined to it. So you can do one or the other. The Tomb Crawlers are definitely a lot more favorable considering Crypto Crawls are way overcosted.
And difficult to get your hands on.
No, Johnny, they just got restocked in the Royal Court sprue. That's $200 plus.
Exactly, difficult to get your hands on.
Yeah. Tomb Crawlers, though, these fellows have a more beefier gun than the Macrocytes, each either a trans-dimensional isolator or a twin Gauss Reaper. The difference is the Gauss Reaper is a lethal hits with twin linked.
But it's only 1 AP, 1 damage.
Yeah, whereas the isolator is 2 AP, 2 damage, but both are 2 shots on 4's strength 4. Why you would take them is for the Weapon Sentinel's ability. Each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack, and keep in mind, models in this unit, so a whole big beefy unit that Crypteks are leading, makes a ranged attack that targets a unit within 12 inches. You can ignore any or all modifiers to the BS characteristic, hit roll, and the wound roll. Suddenly, things like stealth and the tenacity trait of the whole -1 to wound thing, stuff like that, out the window for 50 points. Insane.
On top of that, you can, by being able to stick these guys in a unit with a Cryptek, you can do some silly things like Immortals with Plasmancers, with Tomb Crawlers, with a Noble. And that is a huge, huge death blob just running up the board. You've got so many buffs. You can keep the Macrocytes nearby so that they're then buffing it. And you can just like stand on that middle point and be like, what are you going to do?
I really like the idea that you have Macrocytes right next to a Canoptek Reanimator, which does have a Feel No Pain, I believe, 4+. So if your opponent's like, far out, the Reanimator keeps healing the Immortals, I should go for the Reanimator. And then the Macrocytes are like, don't worry, Reanimator, you're going to heal yourself extra.
We got you. Like, it's just such a fun and like synergistic combo with like all of the stuff Necrons want to do anyway. And the idea of sticking 3 bodyguards onto your like character that you want to keep alive. How are they going to kill that character? They got to get through so many wounds.
I remember I had a 20 warrior blob with Oricana Diviner leading them for a 4-up invulnerable save. And to be honest, I did place them in the wrong spot in deployment and they were wiped out before it was my first turn. However, it took my opponent's entire shooting turn. Like every unit that could shoot had to shoot that unit to have a chance of getting rid of it because around the corner was a Reanimator and I think I had a Noble with a Resorb. Maybe I didn't, maybe I did. But it just goes to show how insanely tar-pity Necrons are. And these fellows that we've all just talked about today make that even more gummy.
Yeah, I just... It's a lot of points, but could you imagine 10 Immortals, you've got the 2 Tomb Crawlers, you've got Oricana the Diviner, you've got a Plasmancer, all in a blob with some Macrocytes and a Reanimator nearby, and you're like, this is a big investment, but it sits on my middle objective, or wherever you need to get to, and your opponent just can't go anywhere near it.
Yeah. Oricana Cryptek, you can't double him up with the Plasmancer, but I do get what you mean. It's an insane combo either way.
Yeah. Sorry, he is a Cryptek. I apologize.
Oh, that's all right, mate. We all make errors.
Or outside of Oricana, you use the Plasmancer to give that 5-up sustained hits too, and you just let your Immortals go crazy.
Speaking of Crypteks, I came across the most sinister of plays the other day.
Oh yeah, go on.
Yeah, you just put Illuminor Xeris out in the open to have your opponent line up shots against this humongous threat piece. And then after they've moved, you then rapid ingress a Hexmark Destroyer with Deep Strike next to him, all of a sudden giving Xeris a lone up.
Interesting.
Interesting. Imagine Xeris just staying there like pulling aggro and there's like the Gloctopus in the building like hee hee.
I hate that you still call it that.
I'm not the only one, mate. I learned this from other people.
The Gloctopus.
And then we just reacted to WWC yesterday, when recording this. That new fella, the Necrosaur, what can we call him? Gloctoblade?
Oh, man.
All right.
Necrons are so flavorful and so fun.
Yeah, Necron Codex 2.0 review, I suppose. Anything else you want to say about the little kill team package of units before we head on to...
they're all very good.
Yeah, I'll buy them.
I just mentally picture what my life could be if you had swapped out of Necrons instead of me and I was still there.
What would you do?
I'd have everything.
Oh, well, you're more than welcome to play with the collection. I still have all of your painted models as your dynasty still.
Yeah, I know.
But what avenue would you pick, and why is it Canopteks?
Oh, it was Canopteks back in 9th edition, dude. Remember?
I know.
I was like, oops, all rates.
I know. It was terrifying. And I was oops, all destroyers. And we still somehow bounced off each other.
Yeah. But no,
Yeah.
I think that's enough. We should get to the topic of the day.
Loves that. Flayed Ones, Johnny. The Flayed Ones somewhat not the word I'm looking for. They're somewhat thought of as destroyer cult when that's not the case. Destroyer cult have sanity. They just want to kill everything. The Flayed Ones are a virus rather than a mental madness. The Flayed Ones, if you listen to our C'tan episode, which will be out before this comes out, I'm fairly positive.
Fairly positive?
Fairly positive. My section on Llandu'gor the Flayer should really paint a picture of what's going down with the Flayed Ones, eh?
Yep.
We have just one unit for Flayed Ones of their entirety in the current game. In the current game, the Flayed Ones unit is 5 models for 60 points or 10 models for 120. They are a insane infantry shredding device, but most people use them because they infiltrate, and for 60 points that's fantastic, combined with their stealth. But they have Flayer's Claws. Each of them have 4 attacks hitting on 3s, which is great. They have sustained hits 1, which is great. They are 4-1-1 with Twin Link, which is great. But their Flesh Hunger ability makes every successful hit roll a critical hit if their target is below half strength. It's a bit overkill, but it's very hilarious to walk up to like 4 Khorne Berserkers and do like 40 wounds.
Yep.
But Johnny, I have a question for you.
What?
If we had more Flayed Ones, a whole bone kingdom of Necrons, if you would, a whole Flayed Ones sup, what would be in it? What would you like to see?
There is 3 things that come to mind immediately for what I would like to see out of Flayed Ones. One being an epic hero, maybe a simple female flayed queen. I would like to see maybe like a heavy weapons version of like the Flayed Ones, whether that is like three elite dudes with, you know, bigger weapons or, you know, something along those lines, just to flesh out the melee side of things. And then I would like to see some sort of Flayed Vehicles similar to what we heard about or read about in the novel that was called The Twice Dead King.
The second one. Was it Ruin?
Yeah.
That was number 2, or was it Rain?
I believe it was Rain, but I could be wrong. When he goes to the Flayer Kingdom, well, a world where the Flayed Ones are there, and there's this big 4-legged like machine that's just like throwing flesh up on top of itself, and it was really, really graphic imagery that I was like, I want to see a vehicle like that.
Oh, yes.
It really just shows that even the Necron vehicles can be corrupted by the Flayed curse.
It's really, really gripping stuff. The reason we call it the Bone Kingdom sometimes for a conceptual Flayed Ones force is because in the whole tapestry of Necron dynasties and worlds, there is one such world out in the fringes of the galaxy, out in the Ghoul stars. It's called the Bone Kingdom of is it Drazak? I think so.
Drazak, yeah.
Bone Kingdom of Drazak. And that planet is almost like a holy pilgrimage site for like the Flayed Ones. They kind of just, you know, scoop themselves out of reality sometimes and just end up there. Like vultures going to the prey. There's constantly like raiding parties that get sent out from the world to get flesh. There are very isolated incidents where other dynasties will almost hire this tomb world to go out and deal with, say, a human planet for them.
If I remember correctly, the Flayed Ones have a very weird way of translocating, correct?
I believe so. I'm just
They
pulling
kind of
it
just
up now.
show up in the dark. Like they have almost like a translocation sort of vibe, if I remember correctly.
Let's double check this.
It's been a while since I read the book, so dimensional translocation, which allows them to deploy directly on... that's from 9th edition. Stuff.
Yes. The Flayed Ones are loathed, of course. They will be exiled or destroyed, though some will escape into a red pocket universe known as the Flayer Dimension.
Flayer Dimension, that's it.
And they're lured by the smell of blood and carnage, attacking everything they see. So this is the Ghost Wind, an empty dimension of darkness.
Because it's the dimension they have to travel through in the book to get there, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. I knew there was something like that, where they kind of just, like, show up in the dark corners of reality.
Yeah, it's not a very comfortable place. Even the Necron nobility will just feel not great to be there. Some Crypteks have learned how to use it as like a tunnel between other galactic regions, but it's very risky to actually use that, as we find out in the Twice Dead King book 2.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. There's so much like lore and potential with the Flayed Ones that it's shocking that all we have is spindly knife guys.
Yeah, the Ghost Wind is a somewhat dead zone where you need radio transmissions to communicate between ships. The reanimation protocols are disabled in this region, so if a Necron dies, they're just dead. It's quite interesting. But I'm not really talking about the Ghost Wind per se.
No. Just something I wanted to mention and reference because it's a pretty big deal in how they show up and get to battlefields and disappear, and
yeah,
it's part of their like infiltrator keyword part.
It's a very key part of their lore, and it will come back into some of my notes later on. But what sort of units can we come to expect? You mentioned a couple of characters and maybe some heavy Flayed Ones. It's worth noting that the Bone King is supposedly a Necron overlord that is relatively immune to the curse of the Flayer Virus.
Mm-hmm.
And this person has been known as Valgul, the Fallen Lord.
Yeah.
Valgul may or may not be a title rather than an individual. It's a little unknown, even though it is touched upon in the lore. People have adopted a name. People have presumed this person was always around. So who knows if it's multiple people? Who knows if it's an individual who decides today they're going to be the Valgul for the remainder of their sanity? Who knows? But Valgul, the Fallen Lord, would be an excellent epic hero.
Yeah, and maybe he replaces like the hunger ability that the Flayed Ones get, because he can keep them in reign, you know? Like he does a thing and it replaces it with something a little better, or, you know, something along those lines. Trying to work out how it would work with him being not crazy.
I think, and hear me out, since Valgul is supposedly able to keep them in check, what if Valgul has some sort of Oath a Moment ability?
Oh, you can like focus their hunger.
Yeah, because he's supposedly able to sort of rein them in, right? He can, and it's actually something you could easily name, because whenever like the world they're upon, the tomb world of Drazak, runs out of meat, Valgul will announce the times of bounty, and you know that's when a lot of these more devastating raids against the nearby worlds occur. You give him an ability, the times of bounty, and maybe like, sustain hits on 5s or reroll hits or feel no pains. Maybe he is like a Primarch vibe where you get to choose one of an ability of like what I just said.
Yep.
That could be quite interesting.
So much potential.
And you mentioned a queen, right?
Yeah.
I have harped on about her for a while, but the Feyrak of the Maynarch dynasty, Xun'bakyr, or Xun'bakyr, is reported to have some sort of control over Flayer-affected members of her dynasty. Could be quite easy to add her into this little sub-faction as well. Maybe she can go between them. Like maybe she has an ability that will affect either normal Necrons or Flayed Ones, but not necessarily both. Maybe she has to focus her power a bit. That could be an interesting way as well to combine the two halves of the Necrons with the Flayers, having this queen that as she's been kept awakened and the years go by and conflicts occur and her house keeps falling into madness, she adopts more of that sort of Valgul mythology about her, and then you have the king and the queen of the charnel house,
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
But maybe she's got a dual ability, so when she's leading Necron warriors, they get an effect, but when she's leading Flayed Ones, they get a different effect.
Yeah.
Something that corrupts warriors or, brings the Flayed Ones in line or something like that, and then you would have her as a dual build kit to do just like a Flayed Overlord, or like a Flayed Lord or something that can then just be your generic leader for Flayed Ones.
Yeah. Aura ability, reroll charges.
Ugh.
Oh. You had an idea for more of a heavier infantry, eh?
Yeah, it's something that they often do with these kind of like melee-based focused armies, where maybe it's something along the lines of like a Flayed Destroyer, like C'tan, or something along those sort of lines. I think the C'tan Destroyers could be a very interesting one to do because they're already pretty in line with what the Flayed Ones kind of look like and feel like, but in a Destroyer cult version.
Yeah, you can make it that the like C'tan Destroyers, maybe it's like upgrade sprues even for, say, the Destroyer cults, as they often are a little lumped together, at least from a gameplay perspective, if not necessarily in lore, that the Destroyers, in their just, endless pursuit of destruction, have attracted Flayed Ones enough times that some of the Destroyer cult members are also becoming Flayed. Imagine just like C'tan Destroyers with just hooded capes of flesh, and maybe they adopt more of those like giant great swordy hyperphase blades rather than the dual ones. Or maybe they got a couple of extra arms with even more blades with chips in them. And there's a lot of good options. I would call these maybe slaughterers.
That doesn't sound Necron enough, dude. I mean...
The slaughterer ones. The slaughterer destroyers. I'm sure there'll be many good names out there, but the idea is still pretty cool. On the back of that, what about as well, like Flayed Locust Destroyers? So you do have ranged ones, but instead of like pristine looking Gauss stuff, they start to adopt almost like medieval aesthetics with like ballistas and like harpoon gun kind of things that are just like...
It was definitely the vibe I was thinking.
New name idea. Crematorians.
Crematorians?
Yeah. Now, does that not sound more Necrons?
That definitely sounds more Necron.
Like ranged Flayed Ones. And whenever they hit something, they go on fire. They have like dot damage or something.
Well, what I was thinking is more like they're shooting harpoons because they're trying to collect the flesh, right? So they're kind of like either you would do this in game as like those slow down effects, or maybe like a movement that's not controlled by the opponent, like they pull them closer or something a little bit. It's just like trying to reposition your opponent as they're like trying to pull them in,
I getcha. I like that a lot,
I think
actually.
That's pretty cool.
I really, really do like that.
It's something they don't see a lot of in 10th edition because it's a little bit of a feels bad in previous editions when they have had those like move your opponent's stuff. Because one, it's your opponent's stuff, and you don't really want people touching your models, but also, like, it can feel bad to reposition your opponent, but I think as, like, a once-off effect, it could be very interesting to try and do, even if it's, like, once per game or something, you know, or a one-shot weapon or something like that, but I just think that's an interesting and unique way of doing it.
And you could tie it into the actual tapestry of rules, like Battle Shock, even though it's not a particularly reliable rule, you can make it say, like, these guys would be the most relevant to that rule out of all the factions. Like, maybe you Battle Shock at, like, -3, or maybe it's -1 for every flayed unit within an aura of, like, 6 or 9. You know, the more of them there are, the worse you're gonna do.
Or even do it as, like, an involuntary surge move.
Oh, yeah. You must move with an engagement.
You move your models, but you have to move closer. You know, you have to move 3 inches closer and, like, in the immediate room. That way you just move your own stuff, but yeah.
Maybe you give the Scopek Destroyer Flayed version, like, a fight first keyword. Maybe they're not, like, necessarily the strongest because they're not quite focused anymore. But you have, like, the Range Destroyer Flayed, bring them over, and the Melee Destroyer minces them up regardless of whose turn it is.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Do you have any other ideas?
Yes. Which is a vehicle of some sort, and I really like the idea of a Triarch Stalker.
Oh, yeah.
Being the key choice for, like, the flayed Necrons with these giant, like, stabby-looking legs that maybe they've been sharpened to points, and, you know, there's just, like, piles of corpses on it, and it's just, instead of having, like, the seat on top for a dude, there's just, like, a platform of charnel.
Man, that's really sick. I like that a lot.
That was my idea for a vehicle, but yeah, what have you got for options? Because I know that you're the one that wanted to put a lot of thought and time into this concept.
Yeah, maybe just come up with, like, a well-rounded, like, list. Like, you could actually run, like, a whole army of these guys was my sort of main point.
Yeah,
and then we just talk about abilities. But I really like the Triarch Stalker base of a model. That's really fun. I thought about, like, a dual build kit that they could come up with. You have more of a transport, sort of ghost archy themed unit, and then a vehicle which is more of an actual lethal output vehicle, much like what you said. Like, that idea is really sick, and maybe you lean into something that's halfway between a Triarch Stalker and an Arc. You could have, like, you could call, like, a carving barge or something like that as the offensive output, like a melee vehicle or something. So tank shock and then chop, 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 chop. That could be really fun.
Maybe its ability is a free tank shock or something.
Or maybe its ability is whatever it kills triggers its reanimation protocol.
Ooh.
It
gathers more flesh.
Yeah. And maybe the transport works a little bit differently as well. Like the Crypt Walker, for example, can maybe have an aura of extra movement speed, and rather than being like a transport, it's like a bounty barge or something like that, right? It allows you to break the deep strike rules or make it a font of deep strike even if the unit doesn't have deep strike, because it's just this beacon of slaughter and gore. That could be really cool.
Instead of being a transport, it's like a support piece.
Yeah.
The other option is maybe it's an extra reanimation for, like, units near it. Like, it's just got, like, little aura. Like, they bring the flesh and then the vehicle helps, you know, stitch them back together. Kind of like a reanimator, but with some transport stuff thrown in.
Absolutely. I have a few other ideas, naturally.
Go on.
I think it'd be really neat to have, like, a halfway house between, like, the key Necron warrior / immortal platform and what then becomes just all Edward Scissorhand Flayed Ones.
Something going in the middle of transformation.
Maybe like an early awakening virus. So as the Necrons have emerged into, like, a forced awakening, as, like, say, Space Marines are attacking the Tomb World, and then they go out, they fight, but then they're teleported back to the reanimation stuff. Maybe that virus has already begun to take hold of this Tomb World, and so the warriors are coming out a little bit twisted, or the immortals are coming out a little bit twisted, and these could be called, like, the Caskborn, or the Casketborn, or the Twisted, whatever you want to call them, you know?
Yeah, yep.
the Revenants, the Reavers, I don't know, just something like that. And it's like maybe like a pistol and knife style Necron warrior where they move slow. They're not particularly aggressive, but there's a lot of them, like a bunch of zombie units. And you make the Flayed Ones, you rewrite the rules to be a little bit more of like an elite version of that.
Yep.
And you have just like the Poxwalker, the Cultist, that kind of more cheap chaff.
Yeah, yep.
I thought about that. That could be quite neat. Thoughts?
Yeah, no, I do like the idea of just having like this chaff unit.
And I was looking at all the sort of elements of the Necron roster and how we could flay them, right? And Canopteks. Canopteks are missing from a lot of this destroyer / Flayer energy, but because the vehicles can obviously be corrupted because it's programming, what about like Canoptek Spectres or something? We've got like Canoptek Wraiths, we've got Doom Stalkers. We need something that's maybe gone a little bit kooky as well. Maybe like a ode to the older Wraith, which kind of became Ophidians, but you know, that long spine dragging across the ground with just these huge claw hands.
Yep.
Bring back that OG style of Wraith. Why not? And they could be something similar to Wraiths, I guess, like a tar pit unit, or at least something that could maybe inflict the battle shock test, something that actually sets up a lot of the synergy for the actual sub-faction here.
That would be pretty cool.
As well, I think we need to have Flayed Ones Scarabs, something that's transmitting the virus like a plague. Now, our boy Emotech is known in lore to bring about his storms, but upon the storms, Johnny, are the Blood Swarm Scarabs. These are an official bit of lore. The Blood Swarm Scarabs actually are like these beacons that we alluded to before. The Flayed Ones are summoned to the battlefield because Emotech's like, I don't want to risk my actual troops. I'm going to summon a storm, and on this storm is a plague. Have fun.
I definitely agree that is something that we need.
I don't know exactly what they would do, but scarabs in the game are like little roving landmines. So I'm not too sure. What do you have in mind when we think about blood swarm scarabs?
I think if you wanted to go down that like landmine ability, maybe there's something that you can that have like the buff debuff, so it's like they do something to the opponent and to your flayed units. Maybe it enhances your dudes that get hit nearby, and then your opponents get debuffed if they get hit nearby, and then have them as like a heroic intervention sort of unit.
Oh yeah, like a little macrocyte.
But like specific, like give them the cheaper heroic intervention, the idea being that they charge in next to your people, or if your opponents charge into you, you know, so that they can keep up, and then they can just like pop themselves, and it's like, okay, so for this fight phase, it's a debuff / buff.
Very nice. I like that a lot.
Maybe your opponents get like -1 to hit because they're starting to lose their sense of control, while your guys get like +1 to damage or something like that because they're just losing the plot more. You know, there's like this focus. And then in terms of a model, they could just be like, I don't know, maybe they carry like a weird sack or something flayed-ish, full of like gore and meat, and the idea is that they just kind of pop.
They're mosquitoes, Johnny.
They're like big mosquitoes, yeah.
They're
that
big,
have just
there we go.
drained someone dry.
Canoptek mosquito swarms.
Yeah, that leans into that kind of like macrocyte sort of vibe that they have.
Very nice. I had a couple of other ideas for characters as well. We need a Cryptek, Johnny. We need a crazy mad scientist Cryptek. And I came up with something known as a Xun'bakyr. Like
a flesh sort of, yeah.
Yeah, you know, in the third Deadpool movie, Cassandra Nova turns Johnny Storm into a skinless sack of organs and bones that collapse to the ground.
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe a mortal wound, a mortal wound bomb in brackets psychic attack, and whatever dies or loses damage from it, maybe it worsens things like OC or even could flip an objective. Something of that nature could be interesting.
Yep. For sure.
Maybe we give them a melee weapon that actually does something.
Melee weapon that actually does something.
Yeah, I can imagine a lot of interesting visual designs, but having a corrupted Cryptek to go alongside your corrupted noble could be quite nice. Maybe the Xun'bakyr has just a perverted twist of a various sort of discipline that you maybe get to choose from when you're building out the data sheet, like a war gear option. Like maybe they're more of a Technomancer vibe where they actually heal up a unit nearby. Maybe they're a corrupted like Chronomancer, so it helps like do reactive moves and the like. Maybe they're a corrupted Plasmancer, but instead of big lightning, well actually the big lightning could be the blood sucking thing, but maybe it gives the sustained hits to like, you know, a unit, and if it's already it got sustained hits like the Flayed Ones do, maybe it's like sustain 2 or sustain on 5-ups. That could be fun. Just a little buff.
Thick. Yep.
My other idea for a character, I know that Llandu'gor the Flayer is gone. One of the only Necron C'tans that were entirely obliterated. But the C'tan did not like each other. So what if, instead of a transcendent C'tan, you have a C'tan that has been corrupted as well, and we have mutilated C'tans.
Ooh. Like some C'tan or Cryptek has somehow integrated the Flayer curse into another shard.
Yeah, so you just have this unhinged demigod of death and destruction with some unique powers like maybe Bloodbath or the Blood Moon or something like that, you know? And it just teleports around the map and just eviscerates with probably like the most sweep attacks in the game.
Yeah, I just get this like image of similar to how we see like the blood extraction in like Illuminor Xeris's model, but on a much larger, almost Void Dragon kind of scale, like this thing just floating in this like mass of like blood tendrils.
I'm visualizing exactly what you just said, but lean into this sort of, you know, cowed god aesthetic where this huge lanky creature is just like dragging itself across the battlefield with like its walking stick trident thing, but its hand that's holding it is just this massive claw, 7 or 8 fingers, just really unnatural like. The other one maybe another type of weapon, but it's got like a, you know, more of the strike version of a weapon. So when you go in, it's like, oh yeah, my mutilated C'tan has 20 attacks on the sweep profile or 4 attacks on the strike, but it's like strength 18 because it's a humongous spear from ye olden times. Could be fun.
Yeah, I just feel like the Flayed Ones have so much potential.
That's all the ideas I had from the Necron side of things, but I do have, just for you, Johnny, one more bonus idea.
Okay.
An epic hero that's not a Necron.
Oh.
Do you know who Death's Sabre is?
Not a clue.
I'll read this to you. The Death Sabre is a knight rampager who, after nearly 2.5 centuries of ceaseless war, has been covered in a thick layer of skin and fat taken from worthy foes, once having a throng of chaos cultists who followed it in battle. Death Sabre's continuous slaughter also killed the cultists following it, eventually drawing the attention and admiration of a whole pack of Flayed Ones who emerged from the Ghost Wind just to follow it. Oh, sorry, the Flayed Ones were the ones that killed the cultists, and they saw the Knight Rampager covered in all of the gore and viscera, and this Flayed One mob was like, oh, that's Llandu'gor, right? And then this Flayed Ones mob just follows around this Knight Rampager that is so crazy, it doesn't even realize it's got Flayed Ones around it.
That's so cool.
What do you think of that? Good?
Yeah, that's absolutely sick. Love it.
Yeah, Death Sabre, everybody. There's your Chaos Knight epic hero, Jonny, for Necrons.
That would be the biggest FU.
It would be, but it would bring you back to Necrons real quick.
Sure would.
Oh man, that's pretty cool. Did you have any other ideas, either building off of what we've already talked about or other units that come to mind?
Not really. Like, I feel like we went through pretty much everything I wanted. My question to you is, but did you think of a detachment rule?
A detachment rule? No, not quite. But why, do you have one?
No, but the idea would probably work around this uppy-downy disappearing and reappearing. Like that the Flayed Ones kind of get is where I would probably focus on it, and then make it very similar to the way that the other Necron uppy-downy detachment works, where maybe you need to like anchor your uppy-downies around something. Maybe that's, yeah, like a transport or, I'm not exactly sure how it would work, but I think that that's the best way to go about it. Otherwise, you could work it around maybe there's like a kill count building up a resource over the battle as you get kills. As they like build up meat.
That was my work in progress idea. Yeah, it's a good idea.
That way they can, I don't know, get buffed. There's like a list of buffs depending on how many units, or like the percentage of your opponent's army that's been destroyed would probably be the best way of doing it, so that it works at any points total. And be like, when they get to this, you get this ability, and when they get to this, you get this ability, and just like have that snowball effect.
Yeah. When I said I didn't have an idea, I had like two that were like half baked, and what you just said was like one of the two. I think that's super appropriate and gives me like Emperor's Children Coterie of the Conceited vibes, where you are trying to get to a tally. The alternative is something like maybe like the Leagues of Votann, Hernkin, where you have this sort of crossfire idea where a couple of units pile in on a unit and get buffs because multiple units are attacking at once. But it could be a little overkill, and I much prefer the whole kill tally. That would be sick.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do the whole assail thing as a stratagem. Other stratagems could include like the whole uppy downy ghost wind thing, or the super pile in one, reanimation after killing a unit, sticky objective if they kill a unit. Specifically if they kill, because they just turn into a Shrine of Blood.
No, I think there's plenty to work on, and I think that it could be really fun detachment you could release. And if you really wanted to, like, you don't even have to release whole new units. What if they just did like a big box upgrade package where it's like generic parts that you can use to fit out different models? So it's like different Necron hands that are holding different weapons, and maybe like some skin flesh for different units, so you can like kit out your destroyers or your Scorpex, or and just do it that way, where it's like additional bits to make new units.
Well, a lot of the vibes back in the day were a lot of like kit bashy stuff and unit rules that don't actually have models because you're going to make it yourself. Looking at things like Heresy, which has a similar vibe, except the models did exist at least at some point and will slowly get turned into plastic units, as we've been seeing as every reveal show goes along. You could do stuff like that where you're like, here is for you hardcore nerds out there, here's a packet of data sheets, here's the base size, here's a visual guide to some sort of silhouette limitation. Do like Destroyer plus this, do Warriors plus that. Here's the upgrade sprue, or just kit bash it with if you want. Something that I wanted to do with us eventually is do these little homebrew packets of data sheets, things that we think fit perhaps vacancies in a faction or are just really cool ideas. And of course, playtesting, we can update the documents as we go along. This is the first sort of dip in the toe into such a thing.
Yep.
I think that would be quite fun, eh?
Yeah, no, I definitely think that if we're going to start, this is the place to start.
In our favorite faction ever, the Necrons.
The Monolith is still one of my favorite models in the game.
Can't believe I don't have one.
Oh, I'm shocked. The amount of times I've almost bought you one, but I'm like, no, I want it.
So you buy it, you're like, here, Josh, build it, paint it, and then the caveat is I'll be the first to play it.
I'll be the first to shoot it off the board with a tyrant.
New model syndrome. Like, look, Johnny, my nearly $300 model that I spent 10 hours building and 20 hours painting, and you're like, whoa, 24 dev wounds be upon you.
Oh man, but no, there's so much potential, and I really want a Flayed Ones supplement for Necrons. I feel like it was the only thing that they really missed on with Necrons this edition. Between 9th being the starter box and 10th has honestly had some very good support for Necrons. I'm very happy with that, and if they do continue to support the Necrons in this way, I think Flayed Ones is the way to go.
We just had the WWC reveals that's announced the probable end of edition campaign, 500 worlds. A year or so ago, I wrote in my little notes here, like, what could we come to expect, right? And last end of edition campaign arcs, if I remember, we had the World Eaters really make an appearance. Things like Dark Angels started to get a bit more love. At the end of 9th edition, we had the Leagues of Votan, so I'm thinking, well, maybe they'll do more factions. What could we maybe reasonably expect? And a couple of my ideas included a Necron Flayed One supplement versus a box set of the first wave of Dark Mech.
Ah, okay. But there's no Space Marines in there.
Yeah, it wouldn't sell well at all, but it would still somehow sell out.
Which Ultramarine would be in this box?
Chiron, because he was missing from Titus's little group.
Yeah. Yep.
There's this Darth Vader meme going around. Where is Chiron? Is he safe? Is he hurt?
But no, it's there's definitely some cool stuff that in the Flayed universe, and with such a flavorful way to play, I think it'd be very unique to build Flayed Ones as an entire faction or sub-faction of the Necrons.
Well, Twice Dead King shone a big spotlight on the whole Ghost Winds, Bone Kingdom, Valgul as a myth. That kind of thing for the first time really started to be explored, and that was only a couple years back. We are getting some lore content in the upcoming 500 worlds with a huge focus on potentially the Destroyer Curse Genesis in a particular model, the Necrosaur, I think that's his name. I wouldn't be surprised if they start to allude to some things happening from like a Flayed Bone Kingdom aesthetic. Probably not too much, but it would be nice to see a bit more love. And then if GW is listening, we just gave you 10 units. We got Valgul and Basic Flayer King. We got Xun'bakyr and Basic Flayer Queen. Flensmancer, Corrupted Cryptek, Mutilated C'tan, Caskborn Warriors, a upgrade sprue to Scorpex and Locust, Canoptek Spectres, Bloodswarm Scarabs, ideas for a vehicle kit. Oh, mate, just get on it.
Man, I'm sold big on Bloodswarm Scarabs now. The mosquito aesthetic really got me. It'd be so cool.
All you'd have to do is slightly tweak the design space of the Plasmacytes and combine them with maybe the sort of scale of the Scarabs with the multiple units on a base, and you're done.
But what else you got for me, or is that's it we've got for today? Is this it?
That's pretty much all I had in mind for today. Wanted to have a fresh yet fun small episode that's a bit, hey, Johnny, got some ideas? I do. Let's talk about them.
Yeah, sounds good. I really enjoyed it. I think it was fantastic, and Necrons is the way to go. Sorry, Space Marine players.
I like them too, but I mean, have you ever tried to read through the datasheets on Wahapedia? Space Marines datasheets collated is the only time Wahapedia takes a while. Space Marines got enough. It's good amounts, but it's enough. We need to love our aliens some more.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh my goodness. Now I'm going to get your brain spinning into kit bashes and other homebrew ideas, aren't I?
Maybe.
Maybe. Cool. Keen to hear what you have to say next time.
Hey.
Oh, Johnny, when this episode comes out, this will be the last proper episode that's not a book club or anything like that. For the remainder of the year, we're going to go into our end of year special.
Oh my lord, you're not wrong there.
Because we've recorded well in advance. Whoa.
You wanna drop a little bit of a teaser for what to expect in the month of December?
So if you're still here listening, don't worry if you aren't. I don't know how you would be listening if you aren't. But either way, there's going to be a little minute or two beginning of December, end of November, hey, this is what we're doing. Just so you're not oh my god, so many episodes. Oh, they keep releasing things. What the hell? But the basic premise is that we are going to do the 12 Days of Christmas, but our version, starting on December 1st, every 2 days until the 23rd, we are releasing a brief character dossier episode. We're going to have myself doing some characters. We're going to have you doing some characters. Zacky's even going to show up and do some characters. It's going to be a fun time. If you've been listening for a long time, thank you so much. It's essentially what we did last year, but better.
But more focused. Ready for it this time. Wasn't a last-minute decision, you know?
It was a fun time. People still love all those lore bites. Ephrael Stern and Cypher are still in our top 10 episodes of all time, and they came from such a thing. Do you want to tease a couple of the characters before the announcement inevitably comes out?
Yeah, why not? We'll do one each for what we're going to talk about.
Ooh.
I'm finally doing it. We have made the joke a few times throughout the year. But I'm finally going to talk about our friend Salandri Veilwalker.
Can't believe this.
I know, right? We're finally going to see what this Harlequin character has been involved in over the course of the story, and to be honest, she's been everywhere. Whatever gender they are has been everywhere. Whether it be one person or many people in the same outfit, who knows, but we'll find out.
We'll find out.
What about you, Joshy? You got one to spoil for what you want to talk about?
Going off of this idea of you tackling a character that's irked you but in a fun way, a character that's irked me in a fun way that I'll be doing a lore bite on is none other than the Emperor's Children swordsman egomaniac Lucius the Eternal.
Ooh.
Because when we did book club in Fulgrim, I was like, I hate this guy. And you're like, do a book club. I'm like, fine, I will.
Lucius the Eternal. Imagine I talk about the Harlequin and you talk about the Chaos Champion.
You know, before we've done this episode, I actually had it in mind to do Valgul, the Fallen Lord. But we've pretty much covered him by now.
So we're swapping him out for Lucius.
Well, Lucius was in the list. Valgul is probably going to be rotated out to maybe a different Necron character or a different Xenos character. But Valgul was intended. It's just come to my attention that we've pretty much covered him already. He's basically a figurehead of the Flayed One concept in a not
there
much
wouldn't
more.
be too much more to talk about than what we have.
Yeah. So you've already kind of gotten a little bit of our end of year special.
Spoiler alert.
Whoops.
No, but it's going to be exciting. I hope you all enjoy it. It is going to be December in a nutshell before we take a week or two off at the end after Christmas and then ramp back in the new year once Joshy returns from yet another trip overseas.
Wow, rude. I'll record overseas. Come on.
How dare you leave me for Christmas again?
You can come with me.
Mate, if only. But with that, I think we're done.
Well, hey. Whoa. Flayed
Before
Ones.
we get more
So
off
exciting.
topic.
Excellent. All right. Pleasure, Jonny. Pleasure, listeners.
It has been. It's been a hell of a year.
I should paint my Flayed Ones.
It's been crazy. Yes. You should paint your models. You have Christmas. Everyone normally has holidays and stuff over Christmas, so go ahead and paint some stuff. Play some games, read some books, have some fun.
I will pick up the Canoptek Circle.
A little disappointed in the fact that I don't really have anything to buy for Christmas, but...
I have an idea for you, Jonny.
Oh, do I want to listen to you right now?
and I'm surprised I'm surprised you haven't disconnected from the call yet, because I can see a future wherein you pick up the Age of Sigmar Battle Force box with the Soul Blight, Grave Lords, Blood Knights, and that big undead dragon.
I'm not going into that death army, my friend.
I could see it though.
If I was gonna do death, you know where I would be already.
Bedsheet ghosts.
It would be the bed sheets.
Well, that was just a Hail Mary. Actually, what are you on about? You've been putting together a 3D printed army, mate. You've got stuff to work on.
I don't know what you mean.
We didn't say that word.
Don't know what you
We
mean.
didn't say anything. All right, everybody. Good night. Good day. Enjoy life. We'll catch you for our rapid fire December special. Hee hee.
And if we don't see you in the Christmas period, I hope you all have a lovely holidays.
Actually, there might be a slim chance we end up getting to do our Necron Infinite and the Divine book club just before November ends. So there might be a bit more Necron love to go around. And why not tell you a bit more about Trazen's Gallery in that episode?
Ooh, double episodes.
Well, we did double episode in this episode that's somehow shorter than most of our other episodes. All right, cool.
All right, we should wrap it up there. Peace. Have a lovely time. Good luck.
Watch out for Llandu'gor.